I would like to call the Finance, Ways and Means Committee to order for April 27th, 2021. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Representatives Campbell, Camper, Crawford, Faison, Freeman, Gantz, Garrett, Gillespie, Hawk, Hicks, Lamar, Lamberth, Lynn, Miller, Ogle, Sexton, Shaw, Sparks, Todd, Whitson, Williams, Wendell, Zachary. Vice Chairman Baum, Chairman Hazelwood. Madam Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Do we have any personal orders or announcements? Seeing none, we have 27 bills remaining on the calendar that we began yesterday. We will not be doing any of the bills that just came out of subcommittee immediately prior to this. We will only be dealing with the bills that were on the calendar that we left off of yesterday. So if you're here for something that just came out of sub, have a good evening. We will start with item 32 from the calendar. That is House Bill 73 by Chairman Hurt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Chairman Hurt, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 73 establishes the K through 12 Mental Health Trust Fund Act, designates trustees to oversee the fund. Those trustees are the state treasurer as the chair, the comptroller, the secretary of state, the commissioner of finance. Allows the trust to invest the funds for the first time in fiscal year 21-22. It creates two accounts for the funds to be deposited in. 90% of the investment must go into the endowment account and constitutes the principal of the fund. 10% would be placed in the special reserve account. The fund is split this way to ensure a portion of this fund is liquid for use and distributions. The fund is allowed to accept gifts, contributions, bequests, etc. The principal of the fund may not be expended for any purpose. The trustees will annually determine how much funding can be allocated for expenditure based on the return, and the funds made available will be used by the Department of Mental Health in consultation with the Department of Education and must be expended for use with K through 12 students.
Thank you, Chairman Hurt. I do believe we have an amendment and that amendment might make the bill. That amendment we show is 006757. Is that what you're showing?
Yes, ma'am.
So we have questions been called on the amendment. All those in favor of amendment 006757, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment is now on the bill. And Chairman Hurt, I believe you explained the amendment previously.
Yes,
is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
We have a motion. We've already had a motion. Are there any questions? No questions? All right. We are voting on House Bill 73. Moving on to calendar and rules. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Chairman Hurt,
Thank you.
you're off to calendar and rules.
Madam Chair, can I ask a question?
You certainly may.
I think I have House Bill number 46 also. Can I knock that out real quick?
I don't know. I don't know. That's Chairman Hurt, that's really pushing things.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
But because you asked so nicely. All right, item number 46 is House Bill 714. Representative Hurt, you do have a motion and a second. You're recognized on your bill.
Thank you. House Bill 714 addresses when a municipality or a county has or implements a personnel policy that places an employee on leave for a period of time immediately following an arrest and when that employee should receive back pay.
You've heard the explanation. The question has been called. Any objection? Seeing none. We're voting on House Bill 714, moving on to calendar and rules. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, and House Bill 714 moves on.
A very
Thank you,
special
Representative.
thank you,
Do you have any
Madam
more
Chair.
favors to ask?
Thank you, Madam Chair and Committee.
Thank you. We'll go back. And item 33 on the calendar. And item 33 is being presented by Chairman Hicks.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Lady.
Chairman Hicks, we're going to give you a minute to explain what this bill is.
Thank you, Chair Lady. This is the annual nursing home bed assessment.
Are there any questions? Question has been called. Question has been called. Any objection? Seeing none, we are voting on House Bill 556. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, and that is really an important bill for both the nursing homes and for our state budget. So thank you, Chairman Hicks. Item number 34, House Bill 555, also by Chairman Hicks.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Members, House Bill 555, this
And
bill
we do have a
renews,
motion and a second.
this bill renews the annual allotment of 125 new Medicare skilled nursing facility beds through June 30th, 2025. This bill also removes obsolete language about partial relocations of beds and allows 3 years instead of 2 years to complete a new CON approved project.
Question has been called. Any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 555, moving on to calendar and rules. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 555 moves on. The next item on our calendar, number 35, is House Bill 123 by Chairman Howell. Chairman Howell, you're recognized. We have a motion and we have a second. Chairman Howell, please
Thank you,
explain the
Madam
bill.
Chair. This is the Transportation Committee's omnibus bill for specialty license plates.
Question has been called. Any objections? Seeing none. All those in favor of House Bill 123, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. And House Bill 123 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Madam
Chairman
Chair.
Howell. Item number 36 on our calendar, House Bill 952, that has been requested to roll to first calendar of 2022. So without objection, House Bill 952 rolled to first calendar 2022. Item number 37 is House Bill 90, Chairman Powers. Chairman Powers, you're recognized. You have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Committee. House Bill 90 is an administration bill. Presently, OSM, the Office of Surface Mining, regulates surface mining in Tennessee. We're the only state in the union without a state-regulated program. In 2018, I sponsored the Primacy and Reclamation Act, directing the governor to pursue the state oversight of Surface Mining Control and Reclamation Act, known as SMACRA, frequently referred to as primacy. Since that time, however, the administration sought informal review of the 2018 Act from OSM, and the feedback is clear. In order for Tennessee to receive primacy, OSM must determine at their sole discretion that, one, our program is at least as stringent as federal law, and two, that the state has the financial capability to administer and operate the program. This bill will do that. And with that, Madam Chair, I renew my motion.
Question has been called. Are there any objections to calling the question? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 90. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 90 moves on to calendar and rules. Thank you, Chairman Powell.
Thank you. Thank you, Committee. I have another one.
You do. Item number 38 is House Bill 544, also by Chairman Powers. And we have a motion and a second.
Thank you.
And I believe
And we have an amendment 7159 traveling
That's
with
the
it.
amendment that we have. So we have a motion. We have a second on the amendment. We have a motion and a second on amendment 007159. All in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment is attached. Chairman Powers, you're recognized on the amendment.
Thank you. House Bill 544 allows a business that's been on an interstate logo board for 10 years or more and has been bumped to be rolled over to another board with a different title if there is a vacancy. It will not allow more than 2 logos to be added onto a board with a different title. And with that, Madam Chair, I renew my motion.
All right, you've heard the explanation of the bill as amended. Are there any questions on the bill? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 544. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 544 moves forward. Calendar and rules.
Thank you, Madam
Thank
Chair,
you.
Committee.
Item number 39, House Bill 575 by Chairman Reagan. Chairman Reagan, you're recognized. We have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to make sure you're also showing the amendment 6710 is traveling.
It's traveling with it.
Thank you. By way of explanation, sections 1 through 5 of the bill as amended is cleanup language for a bill that this General Assembly has passed already. But essentially what it does is take the 6 metro health departments and puts them under the authority of the county mayor. It does not change their responsibilities of a health department nor their authority in certain circumstances. It also puts the definition of quarantine into the Tennessee Code. That definition exists as a rule, but this bill moves it into code. Section 6, which is the portion for which this bill is known as the vaccine passport prohibition bill. And essentially what it does is say that no state government entity, that does to include counties and cities, may require that a private business require proof of vaccination against COVID-19 as a condition of entering the business or using its services. Governor Lee is supporting this legislation, and if you like, I can read the wording from his support.
Question on the bill.
Question has been, Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for letting me ask this question. Mr. Sponsor, once this bill, well, first let me ask you, did you seek input from some of the counties that's going to be affected by this?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Did you seek input from the counties that's going to be affected by this
I
legislation?
didn't seek it, it came to me.
It came to you, and so did Shelby County have any?
Leader Camper.
Were you able to confer with Shelby County in terms of their reaction to it, input on it, or did you work
I
with
did not get
them?
any input from Shelby County, surprisingly.
Okay. And you expect this to go into effect in July of this year?
This
I
act will
just
take
can't
effect on
remember.
becoming public law.
Okay, so right away. Okay, thank you, Mr. Sponsor, for that answer. And so the problem you're trying to solve with this piece of legislation is to do what? I think I missed that in your explanation. What problem are we trying to solve with this legislation? Since I imagine maybe 1 or 2 counties came to you and you, including 6 in the
The issue
legislation.
is that this body, the General Assembly, has already passed a piece of legislation concerning the Big Six, as it were. This bill has some cleanup language in it that basically takes the 6 metro health departments and puts them under the authority of the county mayor. The responsibilities of those departments are unchanged, and only the authority, that is to say, they must now report to the county mayor as an advisory function. The part that was not changed is that the county health director still has the duty to enforce regulations of the state health department.
Leader Camper.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And you did not get rid of the advisory council. You just,
This bill does not address
it
that.
doesn't address that. Okay, thank you, Mr. Sponsor. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Chairman Zachary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Question on the bill.
Is there any objection? We had another questioner, so you're not. Question has been called. All those in favor of House Bill 575, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. If you'd like to be recorded as a no, please see the clerk. House Bill 575 has received a majority, and it does move forward to calendar and rules. Thank you, Chairman Reagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Committee.
Next on our agenda is House Bill 773 by Leader Lamberth. Leader Lamberth, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
You have a motion, second.
Madam Chairman, I believe there is an amendment that will make the bill that is sponsored by another member of this committee, and I fully support that amendment.
There are several amendments actually that we need to deal with. Amendments 1 through 3, drafting code 005840, 006998, and drafting code 007411 are withdrawn. That brings us to amendment number 4, drafting code 007439 by Chairman Hicks. And Chairman Hicks, you are recognized. We have a motion on this amendment.
Second.
A motion and a second. Chairman Hicks.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Members, House Bill 773 will be amended by 7439. It does a couple of things. It will rewrite the bill. It will decrease from 4.5% to the 4.25%, the aviation fuel tax rate. Also decreases the maximum amount of sales and use tax due from a person's purchase, use, consumption, or storage of aviation fuel from 10,000 or 10,500,000 to 8,500,000 in fiscal year 21-22 and 5 million in fiscal year 22-23 and subsequent years. It also requires the Transportation Equity Trust Fund to be reimbursed by the general fund. And with that, I move passage.
Members, you've heard the explanation. Are there questions on the bill or the amendment? Seeing none. We have not yet attached the amendment. We've heard the explanation of the amendment. We are voting on attaching amendment 007439. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The amendment is hereby attached. The amendment does make the bill. You've heard the explanation from Chairman Hicks. Are there questions? Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman Hicks, for this amendment. I'm not a huge fan of this process whatsoever because we talk a lot about aviation jet fuel and we talk about flowage fees. We talk about a lot of other things, but what this in fact does is it cuts the diesel tax, but what it does is impugns our hospitals. The reason why I'm supportive of the Speaker's amendment here is because what it does, even though we're giving tax credits to businesses across the state, it actually requires that the General Assembly fund the cost that was lost to the general fund, to those general aviation airports. Had we done this a long time ago, we wouldn't be doing non-reoccurring funding every year for our infrastructure needs in aviation. So I felt it necessary to say why my tenor had changed a little bit regarding this. But it's because we're actually spending the money. We're taking the money and giving it as a credit to an entity, but we're also restoring it so it doesn't impugn another. For that, Madam Chair Lady, thank you.
It's late in the day. Leader Camper.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Sponsor, for the bill and the amendment. I do have a question about the decrease from the 4.5 to 4.25. That's fuel for all avionics fuel. That reduces for all avionic fuel. Is that correct? So the small airports, the large airports, everybody will get that reduction.
That is correct. And I think that is one of the high points of the bill.
Okay, well,
Chairman Hicks.
that's a good thing because that was a question earlier with the other amendment, but I think that answered my question too. Thank you.
Leader Lamberth, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And to Chairman Williams' points as well, I wanted to highlight that really where we need to be. I mean, there's about $50 million in non-recurring funds that are in the budget this year for our Transportation Equity Fund. Basically, we'll just say for the small airports and large airports alike. That's really about the number where we should be. I mean, we should have about $50 million recurring funds. We're trying to move some things around here so that we are funding those airports in a way that continue to support economic development and continue to support that part of the infrastructure of our state. And I fully join Chairman Williams in saying the reason we formed this the way we did is that we are reducing taxes that have gone into that fund. And we are saying that here and hopefully forever forward, we will always do that, and go beyond would be my hope. We can't bind a future legislature, but this sets up also a reporting requirement back to both the transportation chairman and our chairman here in finance, so that we can really see how these dollars are being utilized, and also how many additional dollars are needed in years down the road to make sure we've got good, safe airports, and that part of our infrastructure is still robust. So I did just want to highlight, I mean, while this changes around some of the structure, the basic structure that came through sub and that you've heard testimony before remains the same. And last thing I will say on this, if we continue to marry these two funds together, where the jet fuel taxes are what's funding the infrastructure for our airports will lose out in the end. For instance, this year, the fund only brought in about 9 million, and they predict that it will top out at somewhere around 15 million. That's nowhere near what the needs are. So this is a much better method on doing this, instead of just having that one source of income for the fund and on something that really is part of our infrastructure. I just want to highlight that. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Are there other questions, comments? Question has been called on the bill. We are voting on House Bill 773 as amended. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 773 moves on to calendar and rules. Item 41, House Bill 752 by Chairman White. Chairman White, you're recognized. We have a motion and a second. You're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Lady. In committee, this bill deals with dual enrollment courses. We currently, through our lottery funds, we pay for 2 dual enrollment courses. A dual enrollment course is a college credit taught by a college professor, a college course, and it's for our high school students. We're going to go from 2 to 4. That way, when a high school student graduates from high school, they may be well on the way to a community college degree, and or even in a 4-year, they can knock out 1 semester, which is going to save them a lot of money, them and their family. So through the lottery funds, and this is also, it will not start to January 1, 2022, because we have agreed in our education committee not to bust the cap on our lottery funds, but this fell within that with a positive recommendation. So with that, I would ask for approval.
Question has been called. Any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 752. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 752 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you.
Chairman White. The next item on our calendar is House Bill 965 by Chairman Bricken. Chairman Bricken, you're recognized. We have a motion and a second on the bill. All things in good time, Representative Gillespie.
Ready?
Chairman Bricken, you're recognized, and I believe we do have an amendment. That's drafting code 007152. Is that the amendment that?
That is correct.
All right. We are, would you like to explain?
The amendment just makes the effective date October 1st of 2021.
All right. You've heard the explanation of the amendment. We're voting on drafting code 007152. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Drafting code 007152 is attached to the bill. Now, Chairman Bricken, if you would explain House Bill 965 as amended.
This bill is simply just requires the state fire marshal to verify temporary fireworks sellers have a local business license before the fire marshal will issue his permit.
Representative Gillespie has called the question on the bill at the appropriate time. Is there any objection? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 965. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 965 moves on to calendar and rules. Thank you, Chairman Bricken. Item number 43 on our calendar is House Bill 887 by Representative Calfee. Motion. We have a motion and a second. Representative Calfee, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill can the state park become more efficient. This lets commercial operators come in that want to rent paddle boards, kayaks, canoes, climbing gear, or want to teach. Did somebody say question on the bill?
I didn't hear that, Chairman.
I thought I did.
All right, we have, the question has been called. Any objection to calling the question? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 887. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 887 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chair Lady and committee.
The next item on our agenda is House Bill 1140. That's going to be presented by Chairman Todd. We have a motion and a second. Chairman Todd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill will raise the compensation rate for the Reelfoot Lake Regional Utility Planning District from $1,000 a year to $200 per month. It is permissive.
Question has been called. Any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 1140. All those in favor of House Bill 1140, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 1140 moves on to calendar and rules. Next item on our agenda is House Bill 720 by Representative Hakeem. We have a motion and a second. Representative, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill is traveling with an amendment, Amendment 4554.
That amendment has already been attached, Representative Hakeem. So if you'd just like to explain your bill.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. This bill authorizes bingo for nonprofit annual game events under the Division of Charitable Solicitations and Gaming. The Secretary of State shall promulgate rules to regulate bingo. The rules must include limits on.
The question has been called.
Yes,
Are
ma'am.
there objections to the question? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 720, Representative Hakeem's bill. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, and House Bill 720 moves to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members.
We've already dealt with item 46. That brings us to item 47 on our calendar, House Bill 1360 by Representative Manis. We have a motion and a second. Representative Manis, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, committee. House Bill 1360 seeks to change the current amount a county clerk can retain for purposes of mailing new physical license plates, and that fee would be from $4 to $5. And that is only on new physical license plates. This bill applies, like I said, to new license plates to be mailed rather than picking them up at the clerk's office. It really is a convenience fee that will be added. The cost of mailing has risen 25% over the past 10 years, and in some counties, it's costing $4.80 to mail out a plate, and the clerk's office loses 80 cents on every plate they mail out. So I will entertain any questions.
The question has been called, and Representative Manis, this is good timing to bring this bill as we are, there's money in the budget this year for new license plates, and many people might choose to have those mailed out to them, and it could have cost our county clerks a significant amount of money without this bill. So thank you. The question has been called. All those in favor, please signify of House Bill 1360. Please vote aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 1360 moves to calendar and rules.
Thank you,
Thank
Madam
you,
Chair.
Representative Manis.
Thank you, committee.
You also have the next item on our calendar, House Bill 944. We have a motion and a second. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, committee members. House Bill 944 seeks to unify the code by deleting TCA 8-21-409. And as it is written, it only applies to 2 fee-based court systems within Knoxville. These 2 courts are the only ones out of 95 counties to have a different fee structure. And 944 would put these courts in line with the rest of the state. It also would have a positive impact on court fees with these 2 local courts. This piece of legislation was brought to me by the Clerk and Master of the Knox County Chancery Court and also the Honorable Charles Susano III, Knox County Circuit Civil Sessions and Juvenile Court Clerk.
Question has been called. Any objection to the question? Seeing none, We're voting on House Bill 944. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 944 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Next on our calendar is House Bill 811 by Representative Powell. Representative Powell, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 811 allows for a small 0.025 increase on the fee to be charged on sales of certain items in the portion of Davidson County which lie within the tourist development zone and the business development zone. The area defines the downtown tourism zone along Broadway. Currently, the fee is set at 0.025% on sales of certain items, including prepared food, beer, and clothing items. Currently, the funds collected from this fee go to the Convention Visitors Center Corporation and are dedicated to recruiting large events and bring many visitors to our state. Expenditures of these funds is approved by a board that's appointed by our executive. In the recent pre-COVID years, the annual amount derived from the fee has been a little more than 2.5 million. House Bill 811 will take the fee to 0.05%, which the CVC will spend by significantly increasing the police presence in the downtown area, as well as dramatically increasing efforts to keep the downtown area clean. It's no secret that this last year has been a tremendous hardship to the city of Nashville, given a tornado and a pandemic to our business, and also the Christmas Day bombing. So this will help do some things that we know we need
Question has
attention
been
to.
called. But I commend you on your perseverance. Are there any questions or any objection to calling the question? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 811. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Please see the clerk if you'd like to be recorded as a no, that the ayes are a majority, and the House Bill 811 does move on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chair and
Representative
Committee.
Powell. Item number 50, House Bill 616 by Chairman Rudder, who's been patiently waiting, and thank you for that. We have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. House Bill 616 revises the Conflict of Interest provision in the County Financial Management System Act of 81. It does this by amending the Conflict of Interest provision so that it only applies to county employees who are actually involved in the purchasing process.
The amendment is traveling.
Not enough eyes. It's going down.
We're on House Bill 616, Chairman.
616.
Right. Yes,
It's a lot of sixes.
the amendment is traveling on 616. So Chair Lady Rudder has explained her bill. Are there any questions? The question has been called on the bill. Any objections to calling the question? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 616. All those in favor of House Bill 616, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Chair Lady Rudder, your bill moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this evening.
I think I have.
And you do have the next
I
one.
do have the
House
next
Bill
one.
622. And is there a motion and a second? And there is an amendment on this bill, drafting code 007240. Do I have a motion on the amendment? Second? Thank you. And Chair Lady Rudder, if you would explain the amendment, please.
The amendment just simply states that there will be no proxies allowed or no electronic meetings.
All right, you have heard the amendment described. Are there questions on the amendment? Seeing none, we're voting on drafting code 7240. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Drafting code is attached, and now we're on House Bill 622 as amended. Chair Lady Rudder, if you could share with us what the bill
Okay.
does overall.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, thank you so much. This legislation is being brought by the Tennessee Association of Human Resource Agencies in response to the Comptroller's 2020 audit. This legislation attempts to create some uniformity while allowing the local government leaders to tailor their boards and programs to serve those in need in their community.
You've heard the explanation. Are there questions for the sponsor? Question has been called. Any objection to question? Seeing none, we are voting on House Bill 622 as amended. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Chair Lady Ryder.
Thank you, Chair Lady Hazelwood and committee.
Item number 52 is House Bill 772 by Chairman Russell. Chairman Russell, you're recognized. We do have a motion and a second.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and committee. House Bill 772 with Amendment 004347 simply would make volunteer firefighters who successfully complete an annual in-service training course eligible for a $600 payment.
All right, and that amendment is traveling with the bill. You've heard the explanation. Are there questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill. Oh, I'm sorry, Leader Lamberth.
Madam Chairman, I know we're going at a rapid pace and you're doing a fantastic job of leading us all toward the finish line here. I did want to just highlight for members, if there's a bill, if you've got volunteer fire departments in your district, Representative Russell has really fought hard for their volunteer firefighters for years. He had a bill on this subject and the governor's office stepped up and provided about $5 million in funding for training for volunteer firefighters. So if you want to help out your volunteer firefighters, I would encourage you to vote for this bill. And if you wanted to sign on to it, I know he and I would both certainly appreciate your support. And I know you volunteer firefighters would, because it's something they've asked for years. It's about a $600 stipend for their training. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Leader Lamberth. It is, I know I have a lot of volunteer firemen in my district, as I'm sure most of us do, and this will make a difference. It'll help them just be more prepared and more qualified and help them make a bigger difference in their community and hopefully do it in a safe way. So we are now voting on House Bill 772. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 772 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you.
Number 53 on our calendar, House Bill 171 by Representative Sparks.
Yep. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Sparks, you're recognized.
Members, we have a high turnover rate in our corrections and even with our state TDOC. This bill is brought to us from our County Sheriff's Department and our Tennessee Sheriff Association, as well as my Chief Deputy, Chris Fly. And it basically allows them to enter into the early retirement option at 25-year, and it is permissive to our local governments.
And Representative Sparks, we do have an amendment on this bill, drafting code 004335. Is that what you're showing?
Yes, ma'am.
If you would, is there a motion on the amendment? We have a motion and a second on the amendment. If you would please let us know what that amendment does.
Yeah, deletes, replaces all the language after the enacting clause, such as the only substantive change that this is to authorize local governments participating in the TCRS and to adopt mandatory age of retirement for correctional officers.
Question has been called on the amendment. We're voting on amendment 004335. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The amendment is attached to the bill, and now you have heard the description of the bill from the sponsor. Are there further questions? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 171 as amended. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 171 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is HJR 98 by Representative Towns. We have a motion and a second. Representative Towns, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, what this resolution does simply is a resolution that deals with making sure that we have a constitutional amendment that deals with eliminating the concept of slavery in our Constitution. And it really states under no circumstances is anybody in the state considered to be a slave. And it'll be a constitutional amendment. And in essence, that's what it really does. With that explanation, I renew my motion.
We have some questions, I believe. Chairman Williams, I saw your hand first.
Thank you, Representative Towns. I fully support your idea here. I think it's important that we make it clear what the Constitution is. I guess the question that I had for you is are you at all concerned that if we were to do this, it would require us to provide a job to every incarcerated person in our county and city jails?
Well, obviously not. That's not the intent, obviously. And certainly you shouldn't. If you don't work, obviously there's no remuneration of money that someone should get paid for something they don't do. But no, that's not the intent. That has no bearing on what we're attempting to do. Not at all. I think over a period of time, I've heard something of that nature, but that's not what we're attempting to do. It's simply straightforward that human beings are not considered to be anything but human beings, and we want to spell it out. Unfortunately, it's been left in our sacred documents for a very long time, and it should not be. And this just simply addresses that, but nothing else at all is this attempting to address. Never has been, and never will be. If I'm doing, remember last year we were on the House floor and the Senate was behind. The Senate got way behind.
Right.
We already passed it. So this year the Senate beat us. So we're trying to catch up. But to answer your question, that's not the intent at all.
Chairman Williams.
Thank you, and I don't believe that's your intent either. I guess the problem is that I don't know what the answer to that is. There are concerns that it could be inferred that that's the case. I recognize that you're up against a time crunch also, and so because this needs to be read at least before we end. And so I'm trying to figure out if there's a way where we could get some kind of ruling as to whether that would technically be an unintended consequence or not. But I don't know how we could do that. So I'll leave it up to Chair Lay. I don't know if I don't think legal can answer that question right now, though. So.
Chairman Williams, I think other people had some questions. We'll go to those. Chairman Todd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have it in front of me here, but I believe we already have a prohibition against slavery in our Constitution. Is that not correct?
Well,
Representative Towns, and I'm sorry, Chairman Todd, if you could repeat your question for me.
Okay, certainly. I just said, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't have it with me, but I believe we already have a prohibition against slavery in our state constitution.
Representative Towns.
Well, we do, but under certain circumstances that it doesn't seem to apply. Okay, and that would mean that if you are incarcerated in the state of Tennessee, that it does not apply. It spells it out that you're considered as, indentured, so to speak. So it's not clearly spelled out. No, it's not.
Representative Todd.
Madam Chair, I move to defer this to the last calendar of this committee of this year.
You've heard the motion. You have an objection. We're voting on moving this to last calendar of this year. All in favor of moving this to the last calendar of this
Madam
year?
Chair.
Representative Towns.
Madam Chair, if you don't mind, I'd hate to go through this, but I'm going to have to ask you for a roll call on this.
The roll. Let me confer with legal. Representative Towns, we're going to take a short break and get clarification on your request for a roll call vote. Representative Towns, I'm going to recognize Chairman Todd. Chairman Todd.
I move to withdraw my motion.
Chairman Dodd has moved to withdraw his motion. We are on House HJR 98, and there's request for additional conversation. Chairman Williams, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Lady. It's my understanding now, after talking to the bill sponsor, when I asked him the question, the very first, he had an answer to the question that he inadvertently forgot to share with the body. And so I'd like to ask the member again, are you at all concerned about us having to pay incarcerated citizens of the state with this? And I think you had that cleared with the Attorney General's office, which would have simply answered my question, I think.
Representative Towns, you're recognized.
As I understand, this is not new. This came up a few days ago, and our leader, Faison, and we went to the Attorney General to figure it out. I was told by him that that is not an issue. I even went before the speaker, talked to the speaker about it as well. It's not an issue at all. But for the record, as far as I'm concerned, obviously that's not the intent for that to occur. So my information is that no, it's not a problem at all.
Chairman Williams.
Thank you. I think it's important that you and I have served together for quite a period of time. I had a legitimate question that was raised, and when the answer is not given directly in the fashion which you just did now, one could infer that the answer was meant to disparage a member, and I don't think that's the case here. And so I just want to make sure that you and I are able to clear that up because of our discussion. So I appreciate the member, and I appreciate what he's trying to do here. And as I said originally, I fully support it. I just had a concern. Thank you.
Representative Towns.
And concern well taken. I would never do that. Yeah, I think you know me for, as you said, for a very long time. And the fact of it is, things get at the end fast and furious. And we've been around for a long time, and it happens that way because there are so many things happening. Wanted to address it, had it in my mind, but I appreciate you circling back around to allow me an opportunity to do just that. I appreciate that very much.
The question has been called. Without objection, Representative Shaw, would you mind withdrawing that and letting Representative Lynn?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I completely understand, your reasoning for wanting to take this out of the Constitution. If I may, I just want to read, the current Constitution reads that slavery and involuntary servitude, except as punishment for a crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, are forever prohibited by the state. And that's the way the current Constitution reads. So I think your point is that people who have been convicted of a crime, even though we pay them, they do enter work programs, and even though we do pay them, the Constitution does say that we don't have to pay them. And is that your point in bringing this?
Representative Towns.
Madam Chair, thank you again, and thank you for that inquiry as well. Ladies and gentlemen, this has nothing to do with paying people for sitting on their butts at all.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, everybody on this dais, all of us know that if you don't work, you don't get paid. And certainly if you're in an incarcerated state, logically, who's going to pay you? That's far out to me. So no, it doesn't address that. What we're dealing with is simply what we stated earlier, that any human being, regardless of, and as I said, as you read it, that you accept as if you are incarcerated, We're just simply saying that you're still a human being, but you're not. This has nothing to do with whether you're getting paid or not. We dealt with it. This bill has been up for 3 years to get it properly done. Mm-hmm. We dealt with it where we had a couple of sheriffs to come before over a period of time to talk about the ability of people to still be able to work in the institution. If I was incarcerated as a prisoner, I would want to work, just to learn something and break the monotony and keep out of trouble and all that stuff. But this does not address that. None of that has changed.
Mhm.
So to answer your question, no.
Representative Lynn.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The language in your proposal would state, slavery and involuntary servitude are forever prohibited. Nothing in this section shall prohibit an inmate from working when the inmate has been duly convicted of a crime. And I think, one of the concerns is that perhaps this could be used by an inmate to sue, to force a local jail or a state prison to give them a job. We have work programs, but there's not always enough slots in those work programs. Unfortunately, I wish there were, but there's not always enough slots. And even though the Constitution currently says that they don't have to be paid, we do pay them. They are paid, however, they're not paid minimum wage. Is there some sort of a desire that when inmates are working in a work program, that they be paid at least minimum wage? Or does this has no intent that they be paid at least minimum wage, but they would be paid as they currently are?
Representative Towns.
Madam Chair, thank you again. Here again, the reason that's in there, because in the subcommittee about 2 years ago, it came up that we did not want the inference to be that they, did not have to work. Now we have a flip side of it. This has nothing to do with them being compensated or working. The intent is definitely not for that to occur, for the record. Again, that is not what we're attempting to do. That is not what we would ever attempt to do. It's simply dealing with the language as it is, as a human being being considered as, a slave. That's it. It's nothing, has nothing to do with the work there. I mean, they don't have to be paid. We're not going to, the state of Tennessee is not going to pay them if they don't work. And we know that they don't get a minimum wage. It has nothing to do with that at all. It does not address that at all. And this is the reason we went before and found out, from my understanding, that we're okay. We don't have that problem. That is not a concern for me. I would be the first one to address it if it was, because that's not what we're attempting to do. It's not a labor bill. It's not a salary bill. It has nothing to do with that at all. Never has come up.
Very short.
At all.
Representative Lynn, your last question.
My last question. I think I realize that you don't have any intent for that at all. However, once the Constitution's changed, it is very permanent and people can sue for anything. And might a court ever find that this does put some burden on the state or local government to make sure that any inmate who wants to work has a job, even if there's no work programs available? And might someone be able to sue to be paid at least minimum wage, which would be difficult because it would cut down on the amount of inmates that could enter work programs. And I just think that's the concern. And we never know if someone might sue or not. And we don't know what a court might ever find. Thank you.
Representative Towns.
Well, thank you for that as well. The fact of it is, I think we find consensus on this as well, that inmates, prisoners, or people who run afoul of law in the courts, they don't have favored person status. That's not going to happen. And I don't think, and we can sue, if I call a cup of potato, we can sue and argue over that. That's our society. That's democracy. It's crazy, but that's what we do. Okay. But logically speaking, people that are on the courts, they're very well trained. They're smart people like the people in this room. They're brilliant people. And that is something that does not trouble me, because on the record, we're stating over and over and over again what it is that we're addressing. So I think we're fine based upon what I've learned from some of the leaders, that it's not the case. I don't think we have that problem. I would bet, anything I had, that's not going to be a challenge for us.
Thank you, Representative Towns. Chairman Todd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So again, we've already established that we already have a prohibition against slavery in our Constitution. If you pass this in the next 5 minutes, as a new amendment to the Constitution, what changes from what we're doing today versus what we're doing tomorrow?
Representative Towns.
Well, now, the intent is for it to be considered you or anyone in this state that's run afoul of the law and happen to be incarcerated for a year, 5 years, 15 or 20 years, that you are still at that point considered to be a part of the human race. And you're not any less than, as a human being, any other person. And that's what it simply does. That's the only thing that changes. Nothing else. Has nothing to do with your work status. It has nothing else to do with what may occur to you in the penal system. Nothing at all to do with that. It's just how you consider as a human being. That's it. Nothing else.
Leader Lamberth.
Just want to thank you, Representative Towns, for bringing the bill. I know your intentions here are good. I think several of us thought this was going to be on the next calendar. So that's why there's probably a little more questions and debate today. We were waiting on an answer to just make sure that the wording was right. And so I know that's been your goal all along, is to get the wording right. And it basically takes what appears to be one sentence in the Constitution and splitting it into two. When you do that, I think it is your intent, and if you can put on the record today, it's not your intent to change any of the legal precedent or any of the cases that are out there or lawsuits that have been filed. It is literally to just make clear once and for all that we are never, ever, ever going to have any form of slavery, involuntary servitude in this state. And then I have one quick follow-up question. Is that your intention in this bill?
Representative Towns.
Mr. Leader, thank you. I wish you had spoken up earlier, because that's precisely what it is in a nutshell. Nothing more, nothing less. Those are the parentheses. Those are the parameters. That's it. That's it.
Leader Lamberth.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and I know it's been brought up a couple of times. I will say that as a policy discussion, I think it is a good idea for prisoners, both in jails or prisons, to be able to earn a wage. And there are many programs out there that do that. We've talked around that issue, but it actually is better from a recidivism standpoint to reduce that, and so that prisoners can work at a good job while they're in and be paid a reasonable wage for that work. And again, is there anything in this constitutional amendment that would change that process right now so that prisoners can both work as trustees or work in jobs that actually do pay a certain wage, even if it's below minimum wage sometimes, but pay a wage within the incarcerated system?
Representative Towns.
I think that here again, I would concur. And, you try to put old folk tell you they had the best wisdom without all these degrees, PhDs, BSs, and MSs. They had the best sense of the world because they had a lot of just what they call motherwit and good common sense. The fact of it is that, yes, you're absolutely right. If you're incarcerated, I personally would want to go out and work and do something and work the energy off and stay out of trouble. Plus, what I think has nothing to do with the bill, but I think if you have a lot of people that are involved and the daily activity, making things happen, it's probably easier on the guards to keep trouble down. That's what I really believe. But there again, you're absolutely right. And thank you, sir.
Chairman Williams.
Thank you. I was just conversing in a sidebar conversation with my favorite minority leader here. I just want to make sure that one of the discussed things we said, and I think it's important for us to say the record, and maybe Leader Lambert said, inmates, counties or state are not, even though they may receive compensation, are not considered employees in either case in Title 50 in the state statute or in federal law. I think it's important that we say that. And if its intent is truly what, and I believe it is what he's saying, the confusion is really about, is this an employee or is this not an employee? And are we required to employ folks because of this? And I think based on that's not the intent of the sponsor, nor is it the intent of this legislation.
No.
I will say that I was able to look at the language that's currently in state statute as it relates to this topic or this subject matter, and the proposed language which this revision would make. And it's literally all the same words in a different distribution of. And I guess if you could help me, and that's why I was talking to the Leader Camper, and she's doing a great job telling me, but maybe you could tell me this word reappropriation What changes about it in your mind? And I think that speaks to the intent. So what is the hope to change based upon reconfiguring the words? Does that make sense?
Well,
Representative Towns.
thank you, ma'am. Again, Madam Chair Lady. Well, when you say reappropriation, these are words that hopefully don't have us confused, but as I shared just a moment ago, what it does, I think in my mind, it would be how we mentally, psychologically look at human beings that are in the system. We are looking at people that they're just simply human beings. It's, not 3/5, not slaves, not this, that, and other. Even though they're incarcerated, they've done some bad things. Okay, but they're still human beings, and this simply clears that up. It has nothing to do again with them going to work, what they're paid. It's not a bill that's dealing with their employment or what you pay them per hour or per minute or what have you. Nothing. I'm not interested in that at all. That's not my concern.
Thank you. And I believe that to be your intent. And I just think, and as Leader Lambert said, we should say, I love you, man. I'm not messing with you. I just want to understand it better.
Madam Chair Lady.
Representative Towns.
He's the second member this week who's told me he loved me. And I'm going to tell you like I told the last one, put me in your will and prove it.
That's making a big assumption that you're going to outlive these folks.
I can handle that part.
The question has been called. Any objection to the question? Seeing none, we are voting on HJR 98. Moving on to calendar and rules. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? If you'd like to be recorded as a no, please see the clerk.
Mr. Chairman, members, thank you for the spirit of the debate. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Representative Towns. And just for the record, I appreciate what you have done here. I think it just clarifies something that we would all have thought was already handled in the Constitution, because no one in Tennessee would condone slavery in any shape, form, or fashion. So thank you.
Okay, item number 55 on the calendar is House Bill 1396 by Chair Lady Hazelwood. You got a motion and a second, Chair Lady Hazelwood. You are recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This just simply ends the Best College Savings Program that permitted tuition units to be purchased under a tuition contract.
Question's been called. Any objections? If not, we are voting on House Bill 1396 to send it to calendar and rules. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. 1396 moves to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Chairman Crawford.
And item number 56 on the calendar is House Bill 181, also by Chair Lady Hazelwood. You have a motion and a second. You're recognized on the bill.
This is indeed a great bill. It brings $1.7 billion into our TennCare program. It's a hospital assessment bill.
Any discussion? If not, we're voting on House Bill 181 to send it to calendar and rules. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. House Bill 181 moves to calendar and rules. Item number 57 on the calendar is House Bill 496 by Chair Lady Hazelwood. This one, we have a motion and a second. This one does have an amendment. It's drafting code 6732. Chair Lady Hazelwood, you've got a motion and a second on the amendment.
And the amendment does make the bill.
You have a motion and a second on the amendment. Okay, question's been called on the amendment. We're voting on adding amendment 6732 on the bill. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. House amendment 6732 is added to the bill. Chair Lady Hazelwood, do you have any additional comments about the bill?
This just makes permanent the removal of the cap on the state shared sales tax revenue for premier type tourist resort municipalities. I'm sorry, my tongue is twisted. This only impacts Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg, and this proposal would divert the funds above the cap to 25% to the state, 25% to the municipalities, and 50% to Sevier County for educational purposes.
You've heard the explanation. Any questions? Question's been called. We're voting on sending House Bill 496 to calendar and rules. All in favor say aye. Opposed? No. Ayes have it. House Bill 496 moves on to calendar and rules. And the last item on our calendar is item number 63. It's House Bill 598. We have a motion and a second. Chair Lady Hazelwood, we have an amendment on this. It's drafting code 5871. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Would you like to tell us about the amendment?
And the amendment does make the bill. This is just establishes a child care task force. I think we've all, we were probably aware of the issues with finding quality and affordable and accessible child care in Tennessee prior to the pandemic, but the pandemic really exposed the need for that to even greater extent. This task force would be charged with holistically looking at that issue, developing a strategic plan, and it's a one-year task force. They would be in and out and have a plan for us that we would improve childcare and both the quality and the accessibility and affordability.
Question's been called on the amendment. We are voting to add Amendment 5871 to House Bill 598. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. The amendment has been added to the bill. Chair Lady Hazelwood, question's been called on the bill. We're voting on sending House Bill 598 to calendar and rules. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. House Bill 598 goes to calendar and rules.
Right. That does complete today's calendar. Do we have any further business come before the committee? I see no further business. Chairman Hicks will maybe address your question.
Members, we will be meeting Finance Ways and Means Subcommittee in the morning at 8:30, and following subcommittee, Finance Full will then meet. So we meet at 8:30, Finance Full, Finance Subcommittee. Thank you.
With that, we stand in recess until following Finance Sub tomorrow. Oh, look.